Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pathological Lawyer Podcast, episode number 5. You might be wondering why I talk about limiting beliefs quite a bit. And part of it is because I had a whole bunch of them, got rid of a number of them, but not all of them, and they've affected me throughout my career. When I talk to lawyers about limiting beliefs, though, sometimes they think like I used to think, which is that that's a frivolous conversation and it sounds weak and indulgent, just like talking about feelings was for the first 20 years of my legal career. Stephen Pressfield wrote this book called The War of Art, and it's a classic. And in it, he talks about resistance, this idea that we resist things and it causes procrastination, and we really need to get down to business and fight through the resistance like a professional would. And it's a great story, and it's also a great term, although the term resistance doesn't resonate with me quite like friction does. And the reason friction resonates with me is because in physics, in life, when things are subjected to friction, they heat up and they break down and they fail. And because of that, it's a much more sticky and accessible term for me about what limiting beliefs do. They create internal friction. And I'm not a car guy per se, but I use a lot of auto references, and most of us can associate with automobiles. And having this internal friction to me is like driving a car with your foot on the gas and on the brake. And you might be able to make progress, but it's damaging to the vehicle and it's suboptimal. And that's what these limiting beliefs do to us. The longer we believe them and the harder we stomp on the brake, or the harder we believe these limiting beliefs, the more they will hold us back. Now, most lawyers that I've worked with, including myself, didn't worry about these things in the beginning. We were too obsessed with getting a career, creating a path, getting a partnership. And in that stage of practice and development, a limiting belief to me is something that creates more friction than is necessary just for getting through the day. And once we achieve what we think our career is supposed to be, or we have some relative comfort in our career, perhaps in our financial situation, as a friend of mine says, you get a house, 2 cars, and a hot tub, and you become comfortable. And then those limiting beliefs kind of fade into the background because you might check out. You might go on autopilot and no longer push yourself. And that's where the limiting beliefs come back again, because now we're not so obsessed with limiting beliefs as creating much friction in our day-to-day. What limiting beliefs do is keep us in a confined or a stable position, and we might feel that there's something more. And when lawyers or any professional become satisfied that they've reached some certain measure of success in their career, then sometimes the pressure is off. There sometimes is a void in their direction, just like if you had a triathlon that you'd been training for a year, and then you finished it, you would have this void in how you organized your life around this singular event. And so it's interesting to me what lawyers come to me with in terms of the stage of their career and how these limiting beliefs might be holding them back. And again, it doesn't really matter what you want to do. If what you want to do contains friction, if there's resistance in you doing it, then it's a problem. Is it a problem that you can live with? Sure. Can you step on the gas more forcefully? You can. What's the problem with doing that? It makes things harder than they need to be. Sometimes it bathes us in stress hormones, cortisol, and other neurotransmitters that over time are not good for our body to be in that state of distress. Sometimes we might get high blood pressure. We might have other health effects. We might get tunnel vision to what we're doing as we stomp on the accelerator of our career to overcome the braking force that these limiting beliefs place on us. And when we do that, even if our health is just fine, sometimes we miss the joys of every day. And I know a number of people, including myself, who have lived their life for long periods of time, essentially speeding through it, waiting to get to the end of the movie. Well, the end of the movie for all of us is a graveyard. And that's not something that I think we should consciously speed towards. And the way to slow that down is to work on those limiting beliefs and work on the things that we're rushing through life to avoid feeling so that we can live that more fulfilled life. And if we're in our latter stages of our career and we feel that there's something else out there for us, whether it's a artistic pursuit or a desire to travel or to learn something else or to serve others, those limiting beliefs also come into play where we think, I'm not good enough. If I take away time from my professional career, I won't do it well enough to sustain that. And then within 3 months, I'll be living in a cardboard box under a highway overpass. And I believe that often. I thought of financial ruin and career disruption if I let off on the gas. We also might think, and this is a little bit more subtle, it was for me, that there's not enough time to do those things. Those things are important to me. They're passion projects, but they get squeezed out for what I prioritize as the hard work. And when I tell myself that there's not enough time to pursue those passion projects, guess what? They don't happen. So it's important to get a handle on these limiting beliefs to figure out how they're affecting us, how they're slowing us down, how they're creating friction within our psychology such that our days are harder than they need to be. And if that's not the issue, then the question is, are they keeping us from doing something that we want to do, but have beliefs that we can't do it, or it's for other people, or we shouldn't be entitled to do that? So these things are important, and I love thinking about them because it's interesting. The more I dive into my own brain, the more I realize the multiple layers of these beliefs that are entrenched. It's like a weed in my yard that I'm trying to pull out, and the root is 15 feet long. So bear with me. We'll talk about these more, but I wanted to at least explain why they're such an interesting subject for me, because they affect so much of what we do. And to the extent that they create stress and inner conflict and friction and bad health, they're not worth anything. They're mostly wrong, given to us by other people trying to protect us. And now maybe we need to protect ourselves by getting rid of those old beliefs that were imposed upon us when we didn't know any better.